Pokemon Go is about to hit its 10-year anniversary, and over the years, we have seen some incredible Pokemon get released into the game, and yet there is a handful of Pokemon that players are still waiting to get released. And in this video, I'm going to be going over some of those Pokemon because if any of them do get released later on this year, it would definitely be incredibly hype. So yeah, let's get right into it. I'm really excited about this one. Let's go over some Pokemon that are going to be absolute game changers once they get released. Hey, how's it going everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. Alright, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about some future Pokemon that are going to be absolute game changers, and the reason for that is because they're either going to be extremely sought after from every single Pokemon Go player, or they're going to be incredibly powerful for both PvP and raids. I think every single one of these Pokemon are ones that players at one point or another have thought about being in Pokemon Go, so you could definitely consider them to be the most anticipated. And fortunately for one of them, they're actually going to be coming to Pokemon Go really soon because they're going to be a part of Pokemon Go Fest, and we'll get into that in a bit. But before we get into these Pokemon, let me just say, if you end up enjoying this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can get more content just like this one. Alright, let's talk about some of the most anticipated game changer Pokemon that will come to Pokemon Go in the future. Alright, so the first entry in this list is going to be one of those Pokemon that we already know is coming to Pokemon Go. In fact, it might be released by the time you watch this video because it's going to be coming out in a month. And I'm of course talking about both Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y. Both of these Pokemon have been confirmed to be coming to Pokemon Go with Pokemon Go Fest this year, and I can't be more excited about it because both of these Mega Evolutions have always been seen as probably going to be the most powerful Pokemon in the game, and I think a lot of players are ready for them. I mean, they were kind of hyped up for a long time now. Their assets have been in the game for almost a year, and a lot of players have been speculating on when exactly we would be getting them. Myself, and along with a lot of other players, have been speculating that it would be arriving with Pokemon Go Fest this year, and it turns out we were right because Niantic has confirmed that both Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y would be coming with Pokemon Go Fest this year, and that means for some of us who are going to be attending one of the live in-person events, we're going to have early access to this. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I really do think both of these Mega Evolutions are going to be absolute game changers, and they're going to trivialize a lot of raiding content, especially because of just how powerful they are. Now, the next Pokemon on this list is actually going to be a shiny version of a Pokemon that already exists, and I'm talking about shiny Zygarde. Now, out of all the Pokemon that I wanted to talk about in this video, I will say this is one of those that I really thought would have been in the game this year with Pokemon Go Tour. Zygarde is one of the legendaries, or I think it's even a mythical Pokemon from Pokemon X and Y, and a lot of people thought that we'd be able to get shiny Zygarde for the first time with this year's Pokemon Go Tour, but turns out that wasn't the case. This was not a Pokemon that a lot of players were thinking wouldn't be a part of that event, but as it turns out, Niantic had other plans. I don't know when shiny Zygarde would be released in Pokemon Go. I don't know if it's going to be through another sort of special event, or it's going to be some sort of new raid boss that we can get. I don't know. But yeah, it's a little disappointing that we didn't get shiny Zygarde this year, and hopefully when it does eventually get released, it will be really cool. I kind of have a prediction that it will be released with Mega Zygarde raids. I think that is something that we can look forward to, and it would technically be another entry on this list. But yeah, that's just something we'll just have to wait and see for. But yeah, regardless, shiny Zygarde is one of those anticipated Pokemon, and it may not necessarily be a game changer, but that all depends on if Zygarde itself were to get another move that will make it absolutely top tier. Now, the next Pokemon that I'm going to be talking about would be an absolute game changer, and it's another one of those Pokemon where a lot of people thought it would have been in the game by now, but it is a mythical Pokemon or it's a legendary Pokemon. I really cannot tell what is mythical or legendary among these because of just how cool they are, but regardless, I have to talk about Arceus. Arceus is basically the god of the Pokemon universe, and a lot of people have thought that it would have been in the game by now, mainly because it is an iconic Pokemon from Pokemon, I believe it's Diamond and Pearl. That's like one of the Pokemon mainstream games that I played extensively as a kid. Yeah, it should have been in the game by now. I think it's been a very long time since we've had all the Pokemon from that generation get released into Pokemon Go, but we still do not have Arceus. And I wonder if it's because they're planning some sort of cool mechanic with Arceus, because there is kind of like a unique thing about Arceus where the typing of it will change depending on an item that it will hold. I do think in the future we'll have different things where it will make sense to have different versions of Arceus. Maybe they will have item holding in Pokemon Go in the future and they want to hold off on releasing Arceus until that gets released. But then I feel like they have to retroactively change Genesect because it kind of has the same mechanic, but regardless, yeah. So Arceus is definitely going to be a game changer, and one day it will make its debut in Pokemon Go, and I'm sure it's going to be incredibly hype. Alright, and the next Pokemon I wanted to talk about, and this is probably one that a lot of players have actually forgotten about, it's going to be Ultra Necrozma. Now, of course, we already have Necrozma in the game, and we also have its fusion forms, but some players may not know that there is actually another form of Necrozma that is also incredibly powerful, and that form is, of course, the Ultra form. So, Ultra Necrozma, I personally believe will be a huge game changer in Pokemon Go, and I'm wondering how it's going to work. My prediction is that Ultra Necrozma might be a form of regular Necrozma that is going to be temporary, kind of like the Primal Reversions for both Groudon and Kyogre, as well as the Mega Evolutions for various Pokemon. I'm wondering if it's going to be another one of that. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm just waiting to see how they're going to handle Ultra Necrozma. Alright, and a pair of legendaries which I do think a lot of players would like to see get added to Pokemon Go is going to be Koraidon and Miraidon. These are both very iconic Pokemon from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and I think once they get released into the game, there's probably going to be some unique mechanics with them. I don't know what those mechanics could be, but I imagine it's going to be some sort of travel related mechanic. Regardless, I do think these are going to be some iconic legendaries, but I'm not necessarily sure if they're going to be given some very powerful moves or some sort of unique mechanic. We'll just have to wait and see once they get released. Now, another Pokemon which I do think will be an absolute game changer is going to be Calyrex. Calyrex is a very unique Pokemon in that it has a lot of different unique forms, very similar to the crown forms of Zacian and Zamazenta. I think Calyrex will be an absolute game changer, and I think they're going to do some unique things with it. And I also think it's going to be interesting if they release it in some sort of way that's going to have a lot of power-ups. I don't really know, but yeah, I do predict they might handle it the same way with Zacian and Zamazenta. Maybe there'll be like a form that will be its own raid. Maybe you have to collect some sort of energy in order to get the different forms. I don't know what Niantic has in store, but yeah, I think this would absolutely be a game changer. And it's another one of those Pokemon that I'm sure a lot of players would be interested to see in Pokemon Go. Alright, and the last Pokemon that I believe would be a game changer and one that a lot of players are anticipating is going to be Terrapagos. This is one of those Pokemon that also has multiple forms, but very much like what Eternatus was for Dynamax battles, this would essentially be kind of like the final boss of Terraforms and whatever game mechanic they add for that. I do think terraforming is going to be very similar to Dynamax, where they're going to have some sort of unique mechanic or gameplay specifically for those Pokemon, and I think Terrapagos is going to be the capstone for that. So yeah, I think Terrapagos is going to be one of those Pokemon that will be absolute game changers once they get released. Alright, and there you have it. These are all the Pokemon that I could think of being highly anticipated as well as absolute game changers once they get released. Now, there's still quite a lot of Pokemon that haven't made it to Pokemon Go as of yet, and I know there's a lot of Pokemon that are probably deserving to be on this list, especially some of the new Mega Evolutions that were recently introduced with Pokemon Legends ZA. I'm sure some of you are going to go in the comments and say that I should have mentioned this Pokemon or that Pokemon, but I do think the list is quite extensive. And also, we are about to get another generation of Pokemon with the release of Pokemon Winds and Waves, and I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of Pokemon from that generation that a lot of players will look forward to. And even some of the Pokemon that I felt like I wanted to mention, like for example some of the alternate forms of various Pokemon. There's also of course Paradox Pokemon. That is something that a lot of players are looking forward to. It could definitely be something unique, and maybe it's going to be something simple like how they treated the Ultra Beasts. I don't know. But yeah, there's plenty of Pokemon that players are anticipating, and I do think that there's just a lot to look forward to. It does feel like for many players, the game is complete at this point. There's just a lot of content that has already been released in the game, but you could kind of take it from me. Maybe this video is a reminder that we're still a lot of content away from actually having a complete Pokemon Go. So yeah, that's it. That's really all I want to talk about. If you have any thoughts regarding anything that I talked about in this video, make sure you share it in the comments section down below. Definitely say whatever Pokemon you feel should have been on this list, and also mention any Pokemon that you personally are anticipating. I would definitely like to know, so I look forward to seeing them in the comments. Make sure you share them. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button for this video. That would support my channel quite a bit. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and make sure you turn on the notification bell so you know exactly when I upload videos. And also, take a moment and check out the links in the description below. One of them is to my Patreon page, and if you want to play Pokemon Go with me, best way to do that is by becoming a Patreon member, because I add all my patrons to my Pokemon Go friends list. So yeah, if that is something that interests you, go and check it out. And yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself today, have yourself a great week, and I'll catch you all later.